and thought it would be good to just kind of review what apprenticeship program is, and then tell everybody a little bit more about our particular program.
Wonderful. Thank you, Suzanne. So let's try with your screen.
Okay.
Yes, wonderful. We can see your presentation.
Okay, and let's see, you can see the full screen presentation now?
Not the full presentation. I believe the
presenter mode.
Okay, thank you, Julia.
In presenter mode. Okay, so let's see. Let me figure out how to. If I just leave it like that, is it, or do you see the slides at the side?
The slides on the side are still showing.
Let's see. Maybe present online? Nope.
You have are you presenting from two screens, Suzanne?
I am, yes.
Is there a way to share the opposite screen that's sharing right this moment? And then to turn your presentation on the way you had prior?
So, all right, so do I need to stop sharing screen and then open it up and then share the other screen?
No, when you hit share screen, just choose the second screen.
Oop.
That's okay.
Okay, all right, so, oh, okay, share screen too. Okay, now, let me.
And then start your presentation.
Thank
the way
you.
The way you had. That's okay. The way you had prior.
Okay. There. How's that?
There you go. We're full screen.
Oh, thank you for walking me through that technology. Well, again, thank you for allowing me to present. And I guess I was looking at a list of attendees, and I just wanted to share a little bit of my background. I worked for the university in rural Alaska for almost 20 years, and often worked with some of our rural students, and especially the guys, and tried to fit square eggs into round holes or vice versa. And then about 7 years ago, I had an amazing opportunity to head up the Alaska Laborers Apprenticeship Program and actually call ourselves a training school. We're a vocational school. And I have been amazed, and I wish that I had this knowledge when I first started advising people and helping them find their niche in life. Alaska Laborers Apprenticeship Program is a post-secondary education program within the state of Alaska. We are a registered apprenticeship program, and there's just so many things. So I'm going to try to, during this presentation, teach you about the opportunities that I did not know, so you can help spread the word about this other option for a lot of our students who are often very physically, love to do physical work, love to be outdoors, like to build things, like to work with their hands. So during the presentation, if you want to ask questions, I'm happy to ask them in real time. So, and Dominique, I'm not seeing the chat box, so if there are chats and questions, if you can kind of just interrupt me and let's answer them as we go through this.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. This picture is, we do tryouts. So this is part of what people do. They, instead of applying and writing an essay, they do physical. tryouts for our program. First of all, I wanted to tell you a little bit about a registered apprenticeship program. This program is through Department of Labor. There's an entire department called Apprenticeship. It is a model of education that has been around really since the beginning of time. No matter what skilled people did, even way back in the day, they learned from people who were masters at it. And that's the model that apprenticeship is. We have 2 training schools, and we call it related training or classroom training. A lot of our training is a combination of classroom and hands-on, physically kind of lab model training. The real brunt of their education comes from on-the-job learning. And so we place people on the jobs, we evaluate them, they are mentored by people who master their craft and teach them how to do these tasks and learn about everything from, most important is safety, but how to do things. We have to write standards, so our programs have pretty rigid standards on how we accept people, what those parameters for qualifications are, when we select them, how we train them, how we measure the outcomes, how we set goals, and the whole gamut, similar to kind of accreditation, but it's the roadmap on how we run our program. When people are in apprenticeship programs and they finish their apprentice, so industry understands what apprenticeship is. When they are an apprentice, they're a student, so they're learning. So they kind of have that little exception. They don't have to be exactly the level that all the other people are. And on construction, we call those journey workers. That word indicates that they are a master at what they do. Apprentices are in training, they're learning. So when they complete the program, they actually graduate and they gain that title, journey worker, and that is meaningful within the industry and means that they have been taught. They certainly don't learn everything, but that they have been taught, they measured and evaluated, and they have passed that bar and are a journey worker at the skilled craft. It truly is the other 4-year degree. It's not measured in years, it's measured in hours worked on the job learning, and that coupled with the related instruction, the classroom. So it truly is how they get their degree in construction. It's a construction degree. And then let me just tell you this to help, because I know I talked to Dominica, and there are several other presentations about apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is very specific with what you are teaching. So this particular program that I'm talking about is with the laborers. There are apprenticeship programs in all the skilled crafts within construction industry. That means things like operators that run the heavy equipment and are mechanics, electricians who work on several different things with electricity, the high voltage power lines, the low voltage interior wiring within buildings, all of the internet and phone lines and communication, all of those are done by electricians, and they all have apprenticeship programs. Teamsters teach driving the big trucks and various different things. So there's a whole variety of types of apprenticeship program, and they're all the same model that has been approved and is overseen by, in Alaska, we're overseen by the federal program. Some states run these programs, but in Alaska, under the federal registered apprenticeship program. So for our program, the requirements are minimum 144 hours related training per year that they're in the program. about 3.5 weeks. Many of our trainings are stretched between, our shortest one is usually about 3 days. Most of them are 40-hour training, so they come Monday through Friday, just like a work day, 8 to 4:30. Some of them are 80 hours long, some of them are 120 hours long. And then we have programs within that are multi-year that kind of step up with these prereqs, and you finish one and you go to the next level. So there's a whole variety of different types of trainings within our program. All of these are in line with our program standards that are, are this DOL. This program actually places our apprentices on jobs, and they're in the program. We talk to, I say in sort of jest, but not really. It's the other 4-year degree. The requirements are 5,100 hours of on-the-job learning. In Alaska, most of our apprentices can accomplish this between 3 and 4 years. There's always exceptions. Sometimes it takes people a little bit longer. Sometimes if they're on jobs with big hours, like on the North Slope, working oil and gas, they can get many, many hours. So the time varies, but every year they're in the program, they have to do those classroom hours. And they learn through this program. There's a direct relationship between the more you know, the more opportunities you get. So we always encourage people to learn as much as they can.
Suzanne, we have a question.
Okay.
The question is, must complete 144 hours to get in the program or to stay in the program?
To stay in the program. That's part of our standards. And I'll go through the whole process. I kind of have a slide on that toward the end on how they get into the program. This is once they're already in the program. The other really interesting thing about this program, especially today with all the craziness going on, not only in the world, but in our state, this program is actually a collective program, and it is created by industry. And industry, but I say it's a negotiated agreement between labor and management. What I mean by that is industry is the management part. They have the big jobs. These are big jobs. These are $53 million highway jobs. This is, billions of dollars pipeline maintenance for the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, big jobs. They have all the reason in the world to have a highly trained, highly skilled workforce. Where do they get that? And then labor, when I use the word labor, that really is these unions. The labor are the union hiring halls, these collection, the body of workforce that's available to go to work for contractors. So between the two of them, this pool of workforce people and the contractors who are getting these big jobs, they work together to complete these jobs, and hopefully on time, within budget, and without accidents. So this arrangement is what funds our program. So it's complete private money. It's not public money that's paying for it. That allows us to be very selective of who gets in our program. We set a bar, and we don't charge our students money. So our apprentices are in our program. It doesn't cost them any money, and they are, really what they're asked to do is to commit to the program. And it's really a win-win situation because they come in, they have nothing and no skills. They get trained, they get placed on jobs. We evaluate them. Once they kind of master one thing, we set the bar, and they learn a new trade, new skill within this industry. And they keep doing this over and over and over until they have this breadth of knowledge that they can now go to work for any of the construction companies, know what they're doing, know how to figure it out, and be effective once they get hired on a job, and they don't have these big learning curves where mistakes are made. So it's truly an amazing program. I have seen people come in, we have seen people who are literally homeless come into this program. As long as they can keep it together and get to work and do this, they make enough money. It literally changes lives. So I am super excited about this program and really want to get the word out on how to join this. So what do laborers do? And you know, electricians, you can visualize what electricians do. Operators, they're in the big equipment, you can picture that. But what do laborers do? And that is a lot. Laborers, the definition of a laborer is kind of boots on the ground. These are the strong back people. These are the people that do the heavy lifting, the manual labor, all different kinds of things. It is not one thing like some of these other construction trades. So laborers, I just put pictures here to give you an example. Here, this is a shack. They're working pipelines. This is a coating shack. So you feed the pipe through and you coat, which means kind of paint it to protect the outside so it doesn't rust and it protects it. There's a whole skill to it. You have to learn how to use a respirator and all the technology that runs these booths. Traffic control, you learn how to set up devices, divert traffic, and do all these things to safely move traffic. It's actually, you know, people know that they get paid well, but it's actually a very dangerous job. So there's a lot of safety training that goes into it. Shoveling and helping pave roads. This picture in the corner here is they're moving rebar and setting rebar. You have to do all this pre-stuff before you pour concrete into foundations and things like that. So they're learning all kinds of different skills. This is Kelsey, one of our gals, tying Gabriel baskets that they use to stop erosion on the highways. There are a lot of things that require a strong back, but there's also all kinds of stuff that requires a pretty high level of math skills. This corner picture are grade checking classes. So they're learning, and grade checking is really surveying for construction sites. So they're learning not only the math and mapping of surveying, they're also learning GPS and all the technology that goes along. In the construction industry, just like everything else, technology is taking over. People have to learn how to do that. So we do all of those skills that require a lot of math and a lot of the higher technical skills. This is dumping gravel from a train. Can be a very dangerous job, very physical job. And again, it requires a high level of training so that everyone's safe and there are no injuries. This is ball fields in Anchorage. They regraded the whole thing, laying fabric and making the baseball fields down at Mulcahy Park. Laborers do all of the utilities underneath streets and roads and neighborhoods and connecting all the water and different utilities. So learn how to do trenching and do all of these things safely. This bottom one here is in Chugiak. This guy, one of our apprentices, running a rock drill. So they're drilling and blasting and making big rock for the port of Anchorage. Multi-plates here, the giant culverts that have to be put together. Again, it's a skill to know how to do it and kind of master these hands-on construction things. Surveying. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. We have a question. Do you do any introductory programs for high school students?
We love to do that, and we're really trying to work in some sort of big systematic way of getting the word out to high schools. That's a huge challenge because it's outsiders coming into the school. We've gone in, we've worked with King Tech in the past, In Fairbanks, they got some funding, and we have an after-school high school program where students come in and come to the training schools and do a week-long kind of experiential training. I'm hopeful that that will be one of the outcomes that we will be able to partner with other institutions with. Because as I show you, you know, this is kind of the romantic side, right? All this, and they get paid really well. But there's a lot of commitment that has to happen first, and a lot of those soft skills that have to be in place for these guys to be successful. You can't be late. If you're late, you get fired. You can't have your birthday off and go party 4th of July or whatever. You got to show up to work. So this program, in addition to our official training in the classroom, on the job learning, and placing them on jobs, we're also embedding in this program a lot of lifestyle stuff, because you have to have a pretty healthy lifestyle to be able to get up and be at work on time at 6 a.m. every day, or 5 o'clock, or whatever time it is. It's always early. And you have to be ready. I'll talk in a minute. Every single construction job in the state of Alaska pretty much requires a drug screening. So people have to commit to being drug-free. Now, that's been a challenge in Alaska, you know, and people want to debate it. It doesn't, there's nothing to debate. These are private industry construction companies that have the millions of dollars, big jobs, and if you want to work for them, you got to pass a drug test. And it's as simple as that. And it's people have to really understand these lifestyles and choices and the commitments that they make to be able to go and do these jobs and be successful. This picture is at Bradley Lake. They just finished that big dam project that added a lot of energy to this transmission line that goes all the way through Alaska. We had apprentices on here. They poured all the concrete for the dam. They build these wooden frames. They do a lot of that type of work. So they were on that. This person is coating the seals in a pipeline across Cook Inlet. And this is a company in Fairbanks our apprentice Candace is working on that prepares and insulates pipe that then gets to the North Slope for, and this is the exploration in the new oil and gas fields that are coming on production. So the work of a laborer is different from the other trades because it's so varied. You can do a lot of different things. And that's what we try to teach all of our apprentices in that 3 to 4 year period. Direct benefits for the apprentices, the students that are coming into the program. Day one, well, let me back up. Not training, they do not get paid for training, but they do, as soon as we place them on a job and they start their on-the-job learning, they get paid for every hour they work. They, within that pay, they also get health care. They get full benefits. So they get health care, not just for the apprentice, but for the apprentice's entire family. That's another thing that's very different than a lot of the other industries, full-time career tracks, where you have to, your company pays something and then the employee pays their portion, and we all know that has been increasing, and the bigger your family, the more they charge you. This is for your whole family. It doesn't cost the apprentice anything. It's in addition to their wage that they're bringing home on their check, and it covers their whole family. They have access to the training programs at our training schools and continuing education. As long as they're working, they can come to training and learn new things. There's a legal benefit. So they have access to legal advice. Okay.
We have 2 questions. Going back to the drug test, assuming this also means legal drugs as well,
Yes, it does mean legal drugs as well, but if it comes up and you have whatever the name of painkiller in your system, they'll ask you about that and say, oh yeah, I was at the dentist and had a root canal and here's my prescription. As long as you have the prescription, it's not a big deal. If you have painkillers in your system and you have no prescription, it's a big deal. So they just, they're just be careful, and it's really because of safety. I know we're kind of running out of time. Go ahead.
Another question is approximately how many first-year apprentices are brought on per year, and how long was the training? How long is the training before they start with the apprenticeship?
That's great questions. We bring in. I used to say we bring in about 50 apprentices per year in Alaska right now. We used to bring almost 100 per year, but work has, Alaska has been in a recession, so work is less and less. So this year we brought in 50 apprentices, and we will continue to probably bring in between 40 and 60, 70 apprentices per year. It's like a conveyor belt. So the industry is losing the skilled labor to retirement. We're having a massive retirement going on. So industry is really needs more people, and to join construction, it's a 5-year progressive learning before you have skilled labor on all these jobs. And then of course, the longer you're there, the more you know, that more you can supervise. So we're trying to pump into construction a lot of people, and the laborers we have a lot of people that go out on the job because they need people to do these things that machines can't do. So we have a lot of people we put to work, and we try to rotate them around so that all kinds of experiences. I'm going to speed this up. The oil, what type of work laborers do? Oil and gas do all kinds of work to support oil and gas. Highways and heavy civil, that means dirt work, clearing land, drilling and blasting for new highways, for dams, for ports, that sort of stuff. We do building construction, which has been really slow since Alaska's been in its recession, but they build schools, convention centers, hospitals, universities, all large commercial construction. And then there's these special skills, doing really, a lot of times we use the word environmental, but it's really very hazardous work. Somebody's got to do it. So it's really important that they're trained, they know the right protective equipment they need, and that they're able to do things like cleanup, demolition, asbestos, hazardous waste, safety. So those are the types of things that we train. Those are what we call special skills. They get paid more for doing these high-risk jobs. We have 2 schools, one in Anchorage, actually Chugiak, and one in Fairbanks, but we serve the entire state. The school here in Chugiak, we have dormitories and a commercial kitchen, so we can house people from anywhere in the state of Alaska, from rural Alaska. We bring people up from Juneau and Southeast and house them, and they can stay here and train. Again, we don't charge them anything. We supply that as long as they will commit to learning and working hard and being successful in this industry. Industry is happy to underwrite that. So who qualifies for the program? This is kind of the bullet points we have to check off. They have to be 18. They have to be a high school or GED graduate. And we do work with high schools. So if we have high school seniors who are going to turn 18 in May or early June, we can work, or graduate, we work with them to tier them into this. The other big thing is they have to be physically able to do the work of labor. A lot of our young Alaskans, they fit this bill problem. This is what they want to do. They're out snow machining and trapping and hauling firewood, and playing hockey and doing all this physical work, they come to this program and they love it. Then we put them in math class, but it's applied math. And even though we have almost everybody comes in as I don't like math, they do exceptionally well because it's all applied. It's figuring out how many cubic yards of concrete on paper and then get to go pour that concrete and see where their mistakes are, or cut boards, or it's all applied. They have to commit to being drug-free. They have to have reliable transportation to get work. And even if they have an old beater that just hops them to work, they can make enough money to get into a reliable vehicle, but they have to be able to get to work. And we work with people in rural Alaska because a lot of those remote jobs are good for them, because then they don't have to drive around Anchorage or Fairbanks. They can go and stay in a camp that's provided and kind of save their money so that they can figure out their transportation and their housing. We're in construction, so they have to commit to traveling and working away from home. And then they commit to working hard and completing what they start. That's the big thing in construction. Nobody likes people to walk off a job. So we're really looking for that longevity and that commitment to learn and earn money, because there's no educational debt in this program. It's all about the commitment, and they can do with it what they want. And hopefully that's, they become better citizens. They become better parents because they're not in survival mode. They can make enough money to survive on. This chart just shows our current day statistics right now. So you can see that the laborers are our apprentices. We have an incredibly diverse population, and that's kind of what we do. We're all inclusive. Women get paid exactly the same as men. Minorities and people, like I said, we take people that are actually homeless as long as they can commit to those things that we ask them to. I've had people with no vehicles but said, don't worry about it, I will get to work. And they did. And it just completely changes their life. But we are focused on recruiting from rural Alaska. We know that rural Alaska needs work. We need to be able to support the economies throughout Alaska. This is a place where they can come work hard during construction season and return back to their home communities, villages. We're focused on trying to get more women. It takes a special woman to want to be a laborer, I can tell you that. Right now in Anchorage, we're about 14%. In Fairbanks, we're 24% women. That's really good. But those numbers are really small, right? 14% is 7 women. In Fairbanks, we have 9 women, and that's 20%. So it's not very big numbers. We really want to keep those numbers off. So we're really focused on reaching out across Alaska, because construction is a career that can still support those home communities in those rural outreach areas.
Suzanne,
So the application process, go ahead, is there a question?
I have a couple of questions. So I'm not sure if this one was answered. So how long is I believe Sylvia meant the classroom training before they are placed on the job?
Oh, thank you for asking that. That is, we do 3 weeks of what we call general construction training. So we go through this process. It's a lengthy process. They fill out an application. They take a little construction assessment test just to see how much they know about construction. They have tryouts. We make them show us that they have the physical ability to do the work of a laborer. And then we interview them. Once they're selected, and we're looking in for not just physical ability, but also that commitment. Once they're in and we select them, we do 3-week training. It's 120 hours, and we teach them. It's mostly about safety, and then we teach them about bigjob.com, how to be safe, how to have situational awareness, how to do the big picture things that they'll be expected to do on their very first job, and get them prepared. So they don't have much training. They get a little bit, and then we put on a job, and that's usually about May. We usually start looking and have deadlines in March, and it takes us through the end of April to select them, and then our 3-week training starts in end of April. They're finished usually about the beginning in May, and then we start placing them on jobs, and they go to work, and they will work till the weather comes in. So that's usually at least the end of October. Sometimes it can go till the end of November. Our fall shoulder seasons seem to be getting longer and longer, so they're working as long as outdoor construction can continue. So it's
While
immediate they start making money.
right, because when they are working, they are making money.
Yes.
Correct. Thank you. There's another question. Is there an age limit?
There is not. There is no age limit. We actually have apprentices. We have a couple of apprentices in their mid-40s and one who is in their 50s. The only bar that really is self-regulating is they have to have the physical ability to do the work of a labor. So, you know, it's a pretty physically demanding, and if they're in good shape and can do that, they can get in the program. So there is no limit. We have many apprentices in their 30s who have just struggled and gotten in this program, and it just completely shifted their life, and they were just like, oh, I wish I knew about that when I was 18. It is, we have all different ages. We really work as a cohort too, so they get this like, almost bonding together as they go through this program. We have monthly apprentice meetings. We come together, they're in trainings together, they work together. So they really build this camaraderie as well.
Thank you. 2 more questions that I can see in the chat box. So what if they have criminal backgrounds? Are they able to apply and get accepted, or does it depend on their criminal background?
The immediate answer is, this is an amazing program, and I often say this is a second chance and sometimes a third chance program. People can get into this program with a criminal background where they cannot in so many other industries. We can take people, even convicted felons, we can put in this program. Now, there are some limitations because of the work we do. Depending on the nature of their crime, can they get a badge from Alaska Pipeline to access that? That's Homeland Security. So depending on what it was, they may or may not be able to. If they cannot get on the pipeline, that removes a whole segment of work that they are no longer eligible for. Also, working on schools. If you have certain things in your background, you are not going to be allowed to work on schools. So that removes that opportunity. But often we can get them highway jobs. So it really, I tell these apprentices, we don't look at the rear view mirror. We are today and looking forward. So it really allows people to come into the program, and if they decide to do something different with their life, this is a great program that allows them to come in with any kind of background and move forward. But they have to kind of be past their legal woes. They can't have an ankle. It's really difficult to have an ankle monitor, or still have to be showing up at court because you have to go to work every day. You can't not go to work because you got to go to court or whatever. So they have to be past that, but we can put people to work with backgrounds.
Thank you, Suzanne. And the last question I have here in the chat box, how long do they have to reside in Alaska before they are eligible?
Again, that's a great question, and it is 12 months. We want people to be residents in Alaska for 12 months prior to applying for this job. Not all apprentice programs require that, but the laborers do, because the laborers really are trying to support the state of Alaska, saying You need to hire and support our Alaskan people, especially Alaskan youth. These construction jobs are high wage. They are special skills. We can teach them and want them to hire Alaskans. The biggest thing when you look at the non-resident workers in Alaska, North Slope for sure, because they're saying, well, nobody's skilled or with this special skill set, so therefore we're bringing people up from wherever, Colorado, Texas, Louisiana, wherever. We're saying we're training Alaskans for these high wage construction positions, and we want our Alaskans, especially our Alaskan youth, to get these high wage jobs. We don't want our kids flipping burgers at McDonald's. We want them working, starting out with no knowledge. They start out at 1943 and progressively get that 10% wage increase until they complete the program. At that point, they're making $31.70 something cents, and they get tons of overtime. So they're making incredible amount of money working part of the year. Now, personal finance is another thing we teach because they make more money than they've ever made in their life, but they have to learn how to manage it. You have to learn how to pay your rent for the whole year when you only work part. Pay your car insurance, pay your car payments, cell phone bills. So that's what I mean about lifestyle. We teach all of this stuff that really isn't construction, because if they can't manage their money and they get their cell phone shut off and their car repossessed, they can't go to work. So it really is an all-inclusive program. This program fits so many Alaskans. Some of the young people that I know struggled through high school. They didn't do well in school. They had their head down. They were quiet. They come in here and they get these skills and they're working construction. All of a sudden their shoulders are back, their heads up, and they're so proud of what they do. They create things. They create the highways. They redo bridges. We have working on this Eagle River Bridge. I mean, when they drive by and they go, look, see that blood bank? I helped build that blood bank. And it's really just powerful stuff. I think that's why we're all in education, because we're turning people onto education and watching them transform. This program is really powerful, especially for our Alaskans. So I also just wanted to say the university has a program that is work with apprenticeships. So if people want to continue their education and move on and get associate degree, do project management, construction management, this kind of is a segue that allows them to go into that more formal academic degree seeking. And it gives them that self-confidence because they know they're good at math because they've done all this applied math. Now they can go in and they can take the algebra class and trigonometry, and because they've been working on it. We don't keep people here. We know that people are going to come in, work hard, learn construction, and we're trying to, some people just want to stay there, but other people keep growing and they grow. This is a pathway into leadership and becoming management on construction projects. So it's really a segue to all other things. It's really good for Alaska, and that is what makes me so proud, is because these people are building the infrastructure for Alaska. And like I said before, it makes them better parents. It makes them better citizens. It makes them concerned neighborhoods. It just, when people have a job that pays them enough, a living wage, it transforms people. And that's what I see in this program. So I'm going to have this program and all additional information. Dominica has that. And if anybody would like to reach out to me, I'd be happy to present to students, to counselors, to whatever, at least get our information. I will be an advocate for any young people, especially from rural Alaska. I'm from rural Alaska. I understand how scary it is for people, I will be their advocate, and really they develop a family because we're be small around here. We have about 50 apprentices in both Anchorage and Fairbanks, so they get to know each other pretty well, and they kind of get this work family going on. So I will stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Suzanne. Yes. So you've answered all the questions that were asked in the chat box. Are there any other questions that Suzanne can address? Suzanne, you are still sharing your screen.
Am I? I'm kind of struggling on this.
I can stop your.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. You got a lot of thank you. If you can access the chat box right now.
Yes, I can.
Yes, okay.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and please reach out. I'd be happy to do this for any other group.
Sounds good. And I will be sharing the recording because we are recording this session and the presentation and additional materials that you provided with our attendees on next Monday. Yes, and it will be available on our website.
Excellent. And I see somebody said they toured the facility. I would open invitation. I know it's kind of a funky time in life right now, but we can make arrangements. We have a spectacular building in Chugiak, and it just, it really helps facilitate learning and the seriousness of the program. So I'd be happy to tour groups or any individuals anytime at any of our facilities.
So if that's the case, individuals should reach out to you directly.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Suzanne, once again for joining us today. And if we don't have any other questions, I think we will end our training session for the day. And I will see everybody tomorrow between 8:30 and 9. Please join promptly, and we'll start with APCIS with Julia, Alaska Career Information System.
Dominica, I think you meant to say on Thursday the 3rd.
Oh, did I say tomorrow? Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Yes, it is. It will be the Thursday. Yes, we are not seeing each other tomorrow. It will be Thursday, September 3rd. Thank you. Okay, everybody have a good day and see you on Thursday.